I believe in me.
I believe in me.
I believe in you.
I believe in you.
Stand strong. You are powerful.
Stand strong. You are inspiring.
We are fighters. We are ambitious.
We are extraordinary. We are conquerors. Simply straight talk, our voices will be heard.
This is Simply Straight Talk. Tune in now, you don't want to miss out. Real conversation, plenty motivation. Keep you thinking and still entertaining. Yeah, I know that you'll enjoy the mottos free. Your voice is your choice. Hosted by Reggie B, but you already know. And you gotta check them out and how we roll. Hey, ain't nothing off the table. Give it to you straight. Changing your mindset, talking past mistakes. You ain't gotta wait, time to take off. This is Simply Straight Talk.
I'm Melissa, and this is the Simply Straight Talk podcast, a podcast for the people. Reggie, Angelique, and I enjoy discussing real-life topics that we as real people who are constantly out here on a grind and hustle deal with every day. Stick around for the real talk and tips that will help you rise above the rest. Let's start this show.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Simply Straight Talk podcast. This is your man Reggie. First, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and always listening to the show. I hope you are getting something that you can use from this show or sharing it with somebody who you know may need some inspiration, some motivation, or just need to know that there's somebody they can relate to. But as we move on, today, let me back up. Hey, to my man William, we was in the Navy together. Shout out to you, bruh. Appreciate you for always listening and following. Hey, man, I got your message. I saw the topic you wanted to talk about to be discussed. Guarantee you we're going to do it. Bruh, I'm just trying to make sure it's right. So I'm trying to line somebody up to come on because I don't want it to seem one-sided. So with that topic that you recommended, I love it. I just want to see if I can get somebody from the other side of the spectrum who can answer some questions because I don't want to speak for that group. But I feel you, bro. I got you, homie. So today's topic, man, as we get into the show, we're going to talk about Defund the Police, an epic fail. Epic fail. It was a horrible idea from the get-go. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say it. Now, before some of you start to tit that dial and turn it off, I ain't listening to him. I'm mad now. Let me explain. Let me explain something to you. Let me talk to you. We family. Let me talk to you. As Bernie Mac would say, let me talk to you. Listen. Yes, I'm going to put this on record and I'm going to say it right now. Are there some bad police officers who should not be in that field? They should not be in law enforcement? Absolutely 100% I agree. Yes, I say it. I acknowledge it. Are there some police officers who need to just understand that they escalate a situation? Are there some police officers whose egos are out of control? Are there some police officers who abuse their power? Absolutely. Are all police officers bad? No. But do police officers face an ethic crisis when it comes to doing the right thing, and stopping their fellow partners from doing stuff that they know is unconstitutional or violates a person's right? Yes, I believe a great majority do. I really do. It's the same thing. There's no difference between them and somebody in a certain neighborhood to where you see somebody kill somebody, you're like, I ain't gonna say nothing. Because if I say something, they're gonna come for me. So, yes, I said all that and I stand by it. I stand by it. But this is not an attack the police platform. So if you're looking for that, I'm going to be honest with you. That's not what this is. This is not about attacking the police, man. This is talking about defunding the police and why it was an epic fail. But I also want to bring some ideas, maybe some possible solutions that could help with that. Number one, before we get into number one, let's talk about this. Let's look at 3 police department budgets, okay? So, for Atlanta, Georgia, hometown, ATL Holt, actually from the C-Town, but you know what I'm talking about. Georgia love. But When we talk about Atlanta, Georgia, we talk about the Atlanta Police Department. Now, this is according to Atlanta News First, an article they wrote. The Atlanta Police Department proposed a budget of about $247 million for the upcoming fiscal year. This is an increase of $11.7 million from last year, or 4.66%. The New York Police Department current fiscal 2023 budget is $5.83 billion, approximately 5.4% larger than the agency's fiscal 2023 adopted budget of $5.53 billion, and $234 million, or 4.2% larger than the budget presented in the preliminary plan. Now, that's according to NewYorkCity.gov. Houston Police Department is set for a $33 million budget increase for the 2023 fiscal year. So now this is sort of retro for them. The Houston Police Department could see its budget rise by $33 million to $989 million by July 1st. So that's what they were supposed to get last July 1st. July 1st, that's what they're supposed to get. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money, people. I know it. You know it. It's a lot of money. Atlanta Police Department, $247 million. New York Police Department, $5.83 billion, and $989 million for the Houston Police Department. That's a lot of money. All three departments, it's a lot of money. Now, keep in mind staffing when you're talking about over 1,000 employees. Okay? Insurance, equipment, tools, gears, precincts, buildings. I mean, building one police precinct, good grief. I mean, that alone. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get you the numbers real quick. Let me see if I can get you the numbers for a police precinct. Because, like I said, I want to be fair about this. Because I thought about that as I was reading out those numbers, that someone's going to say, oh, what is all that? I mean, that money is used. When you think about their radios, their vehicles, the gear, the insurance, the wellness, which they're really just now starting to invest in with police departments, that money goes quick. That money goes quick. So it goes quick. Okay, guys, I'm sorry about that. I'm just trying to. Okay, so according to the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the average cost to build a police station in the United States ranges from $500,000 to $30 million. And you got to think about the computers, the technology that has to go in there, the 911 dispatch center, the security software programs that have to go in there, the networking, all that stuff that has to tie all that stuff together. Remember, they have a lot of crucial information that they have to protect. A lot of private information from people who have been arrested, citizens, police information that they have to protect. Court information they have to protect. So a lot of money goes into that. So let me see. So let's see what another website says. Let's look at one more place, because people are gonna say, "Oh no, the National Chief of Police, that's bias." Okay. Oh dang. Now this is RS means data, and so for them, because you're talking now they actually break theirs down. Police stations with reinforced concrete, bearing walls. So they actually break theirs down a little bit. And yeah, it's up there, guys. I mean, they said the low end is starting off at $2 million just for supplies. So it's costly. Like I said, it's costly, and that's still not getting into even police radios. Motorola is a big company. Body cams are expensive. Tasers, guns, utility belts, the gear. I mean, it's a lot of money that goes into it. Now, let me say this. When we talk about police departments and we talk about defunding, now, you know, the city of Washington, there was Black Lives Matter painted on the road that led directly to the White House. Allegedly, Black Lives Matter, which y'all know I cannot stand them. I am not a Black Lives Matter supporter. They do nothing. That's simply a publicity stunt, in my opinion. But let's move on. When it comes to Defund the Police, which is allegedly the response that Black Lives Matter had painted in the road to, answer the city saying Black Lives Matter, and they said defund the police. What does that mean? Because nobody can answer that question. Politicians simply saw that and said, "Ooh, it's a campaign item we can use. We can use it for our campaign. Let's get the voters and make them think that yes, we're in it." But even the politicians in all of their meetings and philanthropy and being stupid on TV and news and whatever they was doing, none of them could answer what defund the police really means. None of them. They could not answer what it means to defund the police. Here's my thing. When you say defund the police, but you cannot explain what it means to defund the police, then you need to stop saying defund the police. In my opinion, it should never have been even used. That phrase, that terminology should have been tossed in the trash. There should have been a restructuring of the police department. And I say that because oftentimes when problems occur in a community or in a city or in a state, the answer is police, which leads to over-policing. Local governments do not want to address the issues that they are facing, especially when you're dealing with economic issues in certain communities or you're dealing with social economic issues. And they don't want to deal with it, so they send the police in who are not trained to deal with it. Most police are just now learning the Constitution. And that's only coming about because people are using their body cameras. You got First Amendment auditors who have actually started to learn the Constitution themselves and understanding their Fourth Amendment rights, their First Amendment rights, their Fifth Amendment rights. And you're not taught this in school. You're not talking about search and seizures in school. What's the right for someone to search you? So people are learning what the Constitution means, which means that when these people are encountering police officers who have always engaged people who are unaware of their constitutional rights, it leads to a conflict because you have some police officers, not all, some police officers who now go into, wait, what, they're upset because they realize that intimidation, the uniform, is not going to work because this person knows their constitutional rights. Now, before they could just get away with it, but now, since a few of these court cases are also being prosecuted to where they're now being held accountable, where courts are saying, no, you did violate their First Amendment rights. You were wrong. And departments are being forced to hold officers accountable, is now leading to a bit of back and forth between the two sides. Now, what can we do? Let me set this up first. When people hear that a police department has 200 police officers on a shift, they say that's a lot of police officers. That's a lot. Yeah, look at all you got 200 police officers on duty. That's a lot. I mean, so what's the problem? I don't understand. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. But is it? Is that a lot of people? Is that enough officers? Is that enough officers? I mean, you have to think about that. Is that a lot of police officers? Come on now, think about it. Is that a lot of police officers? You said they got 200 police officers on duty on one shift. But let me ask you something. Let's take Montgomery County, Maryland. let's say Montgomery County, Maryland is about roughly 593 to 570 miles. Let's go with the lower number. Let's say Montgomery County, Maryland is 593 miles. And you got 200 police officers. How quick can that number of police officers begin to diminish when they are going on calls? So you got 493 miles that you have to cover. One call can take 2 officers, sometimes 3. If you're getting into a situation where it's an armed robbery of a bank or a hostage situation, that you've automatically probably taken, maybe 20, 25 of those officers from that 200? Vehicle accidents, domestic disputes. Somebody move my trash cans. Can somebody come out here? Somebody keeps moving my trash can list. I need a police officer. Mental health situation. Someone is acting erratic. They're acting out. So they call the police. How quick can that 200 officers all of a sudden run into a situation to where it's like, oh crap, all of our officers are spread out throughout the city handling calls. But calls are not stopped coming. It's not like police calls stop. It's like, wait a minute, how many officers you got left? Well, currently all our officers, sir, are busy attending other calls. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not gonna whoop this dude's ass right now. I'm gonna wait. How long you think for the next call get done? About 30 minutes? Okay, bro, can you hang out right here? I'm gonna beat your ass in 30 minutes, but we gotta wait for the police, okay? So we gotta wait for the police because they tied up right now. All right. So it don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. When you hear that a police department has 200 or 300 officers, you gotta consider the amount of territory that they have to cover. And depending on the type of incident that they're responding to, that could be multiple officers. In the event that they're looking for a murder suspect who's on the run, who's a threat to other citizens, now you're talking about more officers joining in because they're trying to protect other people. Now, I know somebody's saying, oh, he pro. No. What I am pro honesty. And I need everybody to listen. I need the police who are listening to this to hear me out, but I need the citizens to listen and hear me out too, because both sides have to be accountable. And oftentimes we hear numbers when it comes to the police department, but we don't have a true understanding of policing. We don't have a true understanding. A lot of citizens don't have a true understanding of what they're being asked to do, what they're being asked to respond to. Which means, think about it. You as an average person, when you're told, hey, we're going to have a party on Saturday. So we need to go pick up this. We need to pick up food. We need to pick up party supplies. We need to pick up decorations. Also, we can pick up some rental chairs. I picked up some chairs. Need to go to Walmart to get this, that, and this. Because you will probably be in a time crunch, eventually your frustrations will start to build up because you're going to start to feel rushed. But yet you're dealing with people who don't understand that you have other things you have to do. And you become impatient. This is a scenario that you can use with the police. That yes, you might be upset because your neighbor, some kids knocked your trash cans over. You're upset. You're mad. You're mad because somebody came into your business, ate some food, ran out. You're upset. I get it. But to have a police officer there for 30 minutes to listen to you rant and rave, and you have no information, you have no description, you don't know who it is, you just see your trash can and you think somebody may be knocking them over. They ask you, well, can you give us a description of the person that shoplifted? I don't know. I didn't have time. You don't have cameras in your facility. Or you got cameras and they don't work. But you want them to work miracles. This is why I say it takes a special person to be a police officer. because they have to know that every situation, people are going to want to talk to them, especially when they're filing a complaint, because they want to vent. They want to get their feelings off their chest. They want to express themselves, their frustrations. But is that really the job of the police officer? It is. But should the citizen be mindful of the fact that, okay, yes, this guy did come in here and steal stuff. I need to do better about getting information, getting them what they need, so if they can catch the person and make an arrest, they can. I need to do my due diligence. But I got to understand, too, that if they get an urgent call, that little beep go off on their radio, that little sound like, hey, okay, some hot, some more serious than dropped off, your stuff may drop down because you're just venting. Someone else is in a life-threatening situation. But police officers have to have the mentality of patience. They have to have the mentality of being able to understand and recognize conversational tones when they are dealing with a subject or suspect or a victim. So it's important that you got to have a special type person in the police field. But how can we help that? Let's start that with number one. Let's get into my number one. We can call it a solution. We can call it a suggestion. Let's just call it a suggestion. I'm not going to say a solution. Let's call it a suggestion. My number one for suggestion is I think that every police department needs to be broken down into two categories of police. There is one who carries the lethal weapon. He carries the gun. Okay? He carries the gun. So the police that we have now, that is the police officer that we have now. We got that. But there needs to be a police officer equal to them in authority, has the same arrest power. They are official police officers, but they will be called, let's say, investigative response officers. Let's say IROs, investigative response officers. And here's why I like having these guys. Now, they would not carry a weapon on them, but they would carry a taser. They would. They would carry a taser. They would have a gun in their car. I'm not going to totally send them in armless. They will wear body armor. They are police. They will have the gear, the mace, the taser. And I know some people tripping right now on the whole thing, but hear me out, especially the police officer. You going to send, no, hear me out. The reason I say I like the idea of an investigative response officer, when I gave you the mention that someone called the police about someone knocking their lids off their trash can, that was a legitimate call that the police department got. This is the call you will send an investigative response officer on. Investigative response officers will respond to calls in which the perpetrator is no longer on the scene. They are no longer on the scene. If someone calls and says, hey, I got assaulted yesterday by this person, you send an investigative response officer. If someone says, hey, someone just came in my store, they stole this and they ran down the street, investigative response officer. They can help with traffic situations. They can help with fires. They can respond to vehicle accidents. Domestic disputes, they can respond to, but we will send that next level of officer with them because we know domestic disputes, good God, Reggie, domestic disputes can turn violent and dangerous. So it's not to say that they respond to everything by themselves, but you can always have that next level officer up respond with them. They will be specifically trained in de-escalation, mental health, extensive training, but they would be trained to deal with situations that happen after the fact. They can assist other officers. But officer, hey, we need a less lethal on scene, meaning a taser. They're there. But having that initial level to respond to those calls to where the crime is not threatening, it's an inactive crime, is not taking place right now. The assailant, perpetrator has left the scene, and basically the person now decides they want to file a report. This is where you can send an investigative response officer. Like I said, same authority. If they do a report, it's the same. They can make an arrest as well. So they can also make an arrest. They got the same complete power as they are police officers, except they are responding to a different type of calls. Number one, I think this will help because now you're not having the officers who are responding to all of the shootings, all of the violent crimes, responding to sort of, I don't want to say nonsense crimes, but you don't have them responding to things to where they are not needed. And it gives them a break. It gives them time to sort of decompress from what has taken place. And I also believe, now that's my first one, but that's why I sort of believe in the investigative response officer. They will respond to crimes that are no longer replaced, because sometimes people report something that happened 2 or 3 days ago. You know what I'm saying? Well, something was stolen. We don't know who did it. Okay, we can send an investigative response officer. Even if they say, hey, we believe somebody broke in our house. Okay, have you been in the house? No. All right, we're going to send another officer. Okay, so they send another officer. They can check the house. Investigative response officer can stay there and do the report. The other officers can leave the scene, or another IRO or another police officer can sort of stay with them to make sure everything is okay. But ultimately, the initial contact is going to be that investigative response officer. Crimes of violence, active crimes that are life-threatening, we will send the fully geared, full of armed police officer. Okay? But the goal is to create extra room. This is why I say police departments did not need to be defunded. They needed to be restructured, because you still got to consider the mental health of the police officer. And I get it. You know, I understand, because like I said at the very beginning, I am not condoning the behavior of some of these police officers. Some of them should not be wearing that uniform. A lot of them should not be police officers. But when you say defund the police officers, you're now punishing the police officers who do care about the community. You're punishing the police officers who really do want the best. Because there are some police officers who wake up in the morning and actually do love what they do. They're not out here trying to just pull anybody over because they're black. They're not judging everybody because they're Hispanic. They're not trying to use their power just to say, I sent this dude to jail. I proved my point. There are some police officers out here who really go to work just to do their job, because that's what they care about, the job. They care about the communities they're serving. It's when we get these bad cops who have been in the field that no one has ever took time to analyze their behavior. Those cops make other cops look bad. Now, the next thing we need to work on. When we talk about policing, police officers, let me say this. I just want to say this. Please, when y'all do trainings, stop talking about 1829, okay? That's when the first police department was created in London. Stop that. Stop. Just stop. Please take that out of your trainings. And I'm saying that because when you say 1829, okay, and you say, well, the police department was created in 1829, it was originally done by the military, so now let me tell you something. When you say 1829, and I'm being honest right now, because that's what this conversation needs. When you say, well, the police department was developed in 1829, to black people, that's slavery. To black people, that's oppression. So your 1829 idea of what was created to us represents a hindrance, pain. So take that out, okay? Please take that out. All right, so now we talked about having an IRO, okay? We talked about that, which I call an investigative response officer. The next thing we need to do. Now, some police departments may have this. I don't know. If anybody knows about it, please let me know. I would love to know. But there needs to be a program in place. Like I said, this is why I say restructuring. Restructuring. Don't decrease the amount of police officers. Let's put better categories of police in place to serve the community. So we talked about investigative response officers. Now let's talk about actually having, okay, a police quality assurance officer. Now this would be somebody who is a police psychologist, okay? And basically, now they do have police psychologists. I'm not denying that, but I want to sort of flip it a little bit. I would prefer that when police officers are sent to calls, if you come into work and the first call you go to is an armed robbery, and it needs to be determined, okay, were you the first one on the scene? Did you make contact? Okay. Then you get another call. The next call is you had to respond to a domestic dispute. Did the person try to attack you? Did you have to go physical, hands-on with that individual? Okay? So now you had two incidents to where your adrenaline was pumping. Because the first one, there was a robbery with a potential gun involved. The second one was the domestic where you had to go hands-on. And now the third one. The third one is a routine traffic stop with an upset person. You don't think that officer is not feeling some aspects of what they've had to deal with today? I think there needs to be some type of evaluation done to where officers, it'll be hard to rotate them. That's why I said this is just me making suggestions. But there need to be some type of evaluation to say, you know what? Like me, put it like this. I observe, and when I notice that certain people are like, okay, you had this, you've had this. Okay, you had 3 rough customer service calls. Okay, you need to be placed somewhere where you can sort of take a people break, where you're not getting so much. And it needs to be the same thing with police officers. There needs to be some way to where it's monitored the type of calls that they're going into. And a lot of this too is just about like the sergeants and the lieutenants kind of understanding the officers on their team. Like, okay, this person is cool, but after a while they get a little bit frustrated. I might need to pull them out of service for a little bit unless it's something really urgent. Hey, take 15. Go park, take 15. Take 15. Go get you a coffee, go get you a soda, go get something, take 15. It's important to give them that mental break and get away from what they're actually dealing with. Because that person may just be, may not even be rude, but the fact that they may be questioning, like, okay, I don't understand why I'm pulled over. But the officer, because that officer has been involved in 2 high adrenaline situations, now they're dealing with somebody else. 2 confrontations, now they got somebody else. Although their confrontational is not an intent to be confrontational, they may perceive it as confrontational based on the fact that they have just been involved in 2 high confrontational calls. So they may be a little more hostile. They may be a little more aggressive. They may be a little more short when they engage with people. So these are the things that we need to consider. So having a way to where either the supervisor, the sergeant, or if there is a police psychologist who's monitoring the calls, can sort of speak with that officer just to check in. This is not to get them in trouble, but to check in. That would be a good thing, man, because you can probably prevent him from getting into a situation where he does overreact. Now, let's look at something else. Police officers go through a lot of training, right? And a lot of this training is confidential. I fail to understand why police departments, because this is who people, like, believe it or not, this is who citizens want to hear it from. Why are police departments not teaching constitutional law and rights to citizens? If you are a police officer in Frederick, Maryland, if you are a police officer in Columbus, Georgia, why is your police liaison not teaching members of your community? Not only, because don't just say, when a police officer comes, comply. No, teach them. Teach them right. Like, hey, listen, first off, we're not a stop and ID state. You don't have to show your ID unless this, An arrest occurs when there are this, under these circumstances. An officer has to be able to reasonably articulate their suspicion. Teach them constitutional law. And if you don't know it, be there, be present, and have a lawyer there. You cannot shy away from the public because you don't want to address the issues that people may have with your police department. This is why I say the restructuring, this is why I say the defunding is stupid. It needs to be restructuring in how police departments communicate with the people. It needs to be restructuring in how police officers operate. And you heard my few suggestions. Not once have I said get rid of them. I, for one, will tell you that I wholeheartedly believe and know that police officers have a dangerous job. The job is dangerous. It's a thankless job. Every once in a while, someone will say thank you. Normally, when someone tells a police officer thank you, it is because they have gotten their way. But being a police is not a job to where you are trying to appease people. At a restaurant, if your food is wrong, okay, let us refix it. Okay, would you like something else? Policing doesn't work that way. You shot somebody. Okay, would you like 2 hours to get an escape, or would you like 24 hours? Would you like us not to look for you and just say this is a one-time thing? How you want to handle this? That's not policing. It's not like that. It is one of those jobs to where you have to say no, similar to security. Security officers enforce rules and regulations. They are not into it's your way business. Police are not in the have it your way business. We have to understand that police officers have to be willing to get out and engage with the public, but teach the public your code of conduct. Every police station has a code of conduct that their officers are expected to maintain while they're on duty in that uniform. Why are you not sharing this? People will have more respect when they hear it from you. When they hear it from you, hey, if I pull you over for a traffic stop, yes, I have to introduce myself. Yes, I have to give you a card. Yes, I have to tell you why I pulled you over. If there's a radar speed, I have to tell you how I clocked you. If I said you were speeding, I have to be able to show you what I clocked you speeding at. If there's a passenger in the car, do I need to get that passenger's information? Under what circumstances am I allowed to ask you to step out of the car? Or a passenger or someone in the back seat to step out of the car? And people, keep in mind, laws vary from state to state. That's why I say this is so important. Because when you're in the community and you're actually sharing this information, you're building trust. You're building rapport. Instead of hoping that a person doesn't know their rights so you can get the upper hand. You'll be surprised how you can get more of an upper hand by doing what I just suggested. I don't believe in defunding the police. And I'm going to keep saying that because I'm absolutely against it. But I do believe in restructuring the police so that it works for them and it works for the community, because it can be done. It can be done. It can be done. But the problem is, when you get the politicians involved and then you get all the emotions involved, nobody's thinking clearly. Because now everybody's in a protect me mode. Citizens are fearful. And I'm going to tell you right now, never have I been to jail. Never have I been arrested. Have not broken the law. My car's legal. My tags are legal. I work, earn an honest salary. But when a police car gets behind me, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. And I don't even know why, but I'm nervous. And I ask myself, I haven't done anything. Why am I nervous? It's the reputation. And the police have to be accountable for that reputation. That's a reputation that you have established. Your peers have established that reputation. Now, you didn't think I was going to get all on the people and not on y'all now. Police have to be accountable for the reputation that has been established among the citizens. That's facts. You're accountable for your partner. I saw one video where a man actually told him, you know that your partner's doing wrong and you're not doing anything. And you see the officer just smile and kind of shrugged his shoulders. Every brotherhood is not a brotherhood. And I get it. Police officers got it tough, man. They got it tough. You're expected to work miracles. And you're expected to save lives. You're called for stuff that really you should not be responding to. And often people don't want to negate. They don't want to talk about that. I agree 100%. Police officers are dispatched to everything. Whenever other organizations don't want to deal with it, it's called the police. Call the police. And then you got people out here now, I forget the word they're using, where they're just making up stuff to send people to certain places as a joke. Telling people that, oh, this person is holding somebody hostage. The police think they're actually going into a hostage situation, not knowing that some jerk is playing on the phone because they want to play, they're mad at somebody or want to get somebody. So the police are going in thinking like, we got to save somebody. There's a hostage situation. There's a gun. This is a dangerous situation. And people take it as a joke. We have to find a way to do things better for policing and for the citizens. Because many of the citizens are scared. Because just like we got good cops and we got bad cops, we got good citizens and bad citizens. As for the citizens, we have to be able to hold ourselves accountable too for the people we know in our communities that's killing people, robbing people. Although the police have a lot of technology, their technology can't do everything. You see somebody shooting people. You know who that shooter is. The only way to stop crime is for the citizens and the police to work together. There has to be some form of trust built. But like I said, one bad interaction can make somebody say, I never want to deal with the police again. It's a tough situation, but not one that can't be resolved. It's going to take time to mend and build this bridge. The police got to face the fact that their history is not very good. And they got to make adjustments, which most police departments are right now. They are trying to make adjustments. But keep in mind that most people see that police departments making adjustments is only based on the fact that video footage is now bringing things to light. So they feel like it's a forced adjustment and not a self-aware adjustment that police officers should have taken, but not. So there's a lot of things that comes into play when it comes to this. A lot of things. And like I say, I think the biggest hindrance between the police department and the community is the politicians. Because they weaponize phrases and terms against the police and against citizens depending on what voter they're trying to get to win the election. But in order for this to work, this thing has to be thought out, and it has to be thought out more carefully. It has to be thought out more reasonably. How policing is going to take place. How the citizens can find better trust in the police. What can the citizens do to help the police? What the police can do to help the citizens? What form of communication will work to bridge that gap between the two? Like I said, if you guys actually heard a lot of the calls that police get, you'll be surprised. I'm serious. You'll be surprised at some of the nonsense calls that police get. If someone steals a cookie out of your store, one cookie, are you going to call the police? Do you go back there, pull up video footage, If that person comes in, stop them. Hey, you stole a cookie. You can't come in here. Do you document anything to give to the police? This is the time they did it. Here's the video footage they did it the first time. Here's the second time. Help them with information to be useful to you. And for police officers, I understand that when you work in a field where you deal with a lot of negativity, that it can easily come across that certain groups are high in crime. But I think you got to realize that everybody in certain groups is not a criminal. Every black person is not a criminal. Every Hispanic is not a criminal. I often hear people say like, oh, you're Hispanic, you're illegal. How do you know that? Every Hispanic is not illegal. We have to figure out a way to make this work so that people truly understand that when you are talking about the community and the police working together, you can't be a cynical police officer and you can't be a cynical person towards the police. There has to be a balance there between the two. Do you really want the police working in your community? Does the community want to help itself? Has the community reached out to the police department and say, hey, come in, give us your training from not an officer. Now, we talking about a lieutenant or a captain. Come give us your training on what you expect from your officers when they come to and respond to a call in our community. You can't hide behind a desk. But in the same token, the police should be able to ask, what would it take for you to help us? When someone's shot in the street in your neighborhood, when houses are being broken in, what can we do to get you to help us? If you guys have ring doorbells, are you willing to share the video footage? If we set up an anonymous website to where you can upload information to us and we can get it. If you got actual video footage of a crime to where you can share it with us, would you do it? How can we help each other? That's just a little bit of talk for y'all today, man. I just wanted to put that out there. Like I said, this is not to bash the police department, just to offer some solutions, but also some things to the citizens. Like I say, I'm not saying the citizens are not without blame in some cases. I'm not saying that. But there has to be a way for both sides to sort of work together and do better. All right? Hey, thank you for listening. Drop a comment down below. Share your thoughts. Like I say, there's a lot of other stuff I can talk about, but this is already about to hit an hour. And maybe I'll do a part 2 if I get enough response to this. If people have some ideas, I don't know. Share your thoughts. If you are a police officer, if you are a police psychiatrist, if you are a citizen and you got thoughts and views about the police department, let's talk about it, man. I am more than willing to have you on. We'll talk. We'll have an honest discussion. We'll be respectful, but we'll talk about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are some ideas and solutions you may have? What do you think about some of the things that I presented? I would like to know. So y'all holler at your boy. This is your man, Reggie. Thank you for tuning in. And I will see you next week with more of Simply Straight Talk.
It has been wonderful sharing this conversation with you here on the Simply Straight Talk podcast. If you have feedback on today's episode, DM us on Instagram at Reggie_BM11 or email speak@simplystraighttalk.com. We'd love to hear from you. Join us again next Friday for more solution-based conversation and tips for how to deal with the challenges of life. Thanks for listening.